Now, everything old is new again. America's entertainment pop culture talk show with Douglas Viviani and David Cohen.
It's Saturday Night Live, starring Chris Farley, Bill Hartman, Mike Myers, Evan Nealon, Chris Rock, Rob Schneider, Julia Sweeney, Adam Sandler, David Spade.
The list goes on and on and on. Welcome to Everything Old is New Again. This is Douglas Viviani with the rather sentient David Cohen.
Sentient?
Yeah, sort of like lively, Saturday Night Live.
Oh.
Trying to give you some kind of accolade. We are here
Thank you.
on our second week of shows of the discussion of Saturday Night Live. This week we are going to continue and go behind the scenes of NBC New York in general and Saturday Night Live in the 1990s. That opening, if you remember, what was that? Remember that crew, the Saturday Night? What year about?
But I'll guess 1992.
You will guess correctly because why?
Because it's written here in the outline.
That's in our notes.
No, I remember, Sandler and those guys, early 90s, so yeah.
It's amazing, though, if you listen to who it is, and like back in the day, but like just a couple of schmoes. Now, almost every one of those names went on to do some good entertainment and movies and whatever else afterwards. We are actually going to be here with a special tour guide, a longtime friend, and one of our favorite guests, Chris Sulger. Chris, welcome back.
Thanks for having me. I'm very excited to be back.
You were here probably 99 shows ago, the first show of all time for Everything Old is New Again.
I think you're right. Yeah, that's right. We were talking about ballpark food that day.
Nope, that was the first show. Then the first show was 99 ago.
Right.
We introduced and you talked about how many clips you pulled up and all that, if you remember. Now, after that, we did do a show on the king, I should say, is the hot dog still king at the ballpark?
Right.
And that's what I think you're remembering. You're part of the Rogues Gallery here now of the...
returning guest.
Everything Old is New Again.
You're now the most. You're the most recurring guest we have.
I love it. I love it.
And Dr. John Viviani, our ufologist, has also been here 3, maybe 4 times. So he's in the running.
Seems more, but all right. But I think Chris, you're at least tied. So
all right.
And the reason why you're here, though, is you worked at NBC from 85 to 98. You were at NBC Page. You worked in Audience Services for Saturday Night Live. Then on to the Nightly News with Tom Brokaw at Connie Chung till 91. Then back to NBC Guest Relations as a Tour and Page Supervisor and Audience Services Supervisor in charge of all audiences for Tickets for Rosie, Saturday Night Live, David Cohen, Conan, Donahue, and Jay Leno. How about that? Chris, welcome back once again. So what does all that mean? You've got some experience behind the scenes, I presume.
Absolutely. It was probably one of the greatest experiences of my life working for NBC for those, 13 years? I just had such a great experience there as a kid right out of college, graduating in May and then starting as an NBC Page in August of 1985, getting a chance to work in an historical building like 30 Rockefeller Plaza, with all the studios and all the talent that was in that building, just incredible. And
well, you're going to take us behind the scenes. I'm excited about that. But first, I want to, you're getting a little accolade from Tom Brokaw, I think, here inadvertently. I just want to play a little.
I am simply the most conspicuous part of a large, thoroughly dedicated, and professional staff that extends from just beyond these cameras across the country and around the world.
So you were part of that large staff, were you not?
Yeah. I actually went into Nightly News with Tom Brokaw after the Page program, and I was there for a couple of years as a production assistant, and I had a chance.
Did he run by that speech with you? Did he say in advance that he was going to give you a little pat on the back when his last show came around?
No, he didn't do that, but he was just a great guy and had such an aura about him that, as soon as he stepped into a room, you just felt the aura.
Now, what was that way he spoke? What was that? Was that a speech situation? Was that like, did he do that on purpose? Was that what was going on?
Well, that's just him. He's originally from South Dakota, and that's his.
Like a trademark.
That was his trademark. That's the way he spoke. Such a highly intelligent guy. He just so much respect for him, and just such an honor to really be able to work in that newsroom every day.
But then after that, you moved on back to Saturday Night Live. Where is Saturday Night Live taped at? Still taped at the same location now. Where is that?
Right. It's still taped at a studio 8H, which is actually on the 8th and 9th floors of 30 Rock.
Right by the Christmas tree, for those who don't know, right? Right
by the world.
Rockefeller
Yeah,
Plaza?
exactly. Right by the ice skating rink and right there in Rockefeller Center.
How many people in the audience about?
You got about 300 people in the audience. You got about 50 swivel chairs downstairs and about 250 up top. And we would cram them in quite a bit. So we would have some people standing maybe in the back and a few people sitting in the aisles.
So you're only seeing, when you're watching the show, you're only seeing the 50 that are sitting down there on the floor.
Pretty
That's
much.
a small part of the audience.
They'll go to some wide shots. You'll get the wide shots of the audience up there sitting in the balconies, and you can see how filled it is. But for the most part, especially when you plant actors in the seats and stuff too, you see those people sitting there quite a bit. But yeah, overall, probably around three and change.
Now, when you're there during the week, are you part of, like, in an ancillary way, seeing what's going on? Like, I'm trying to get to the creation of Saturday Night Live. You've got writers, of course, but some of it, and now these days, I think most of the people that are on the show are writing the material, or at least pitching the different skits and so forth. So, how did it work during the week?
I mean, basically, what happened, I'm referring to obviously my tour guide days too, because we had to know all this stuff. But on Monday, you're going to have a pitch meeting in the SNL offices where you're going to get together with the guest host. People are going to throw out ideas. They're going to start writing about them Tuesday and Wednesday. Your musical guest is going to come in on a Thursday and rehearse. And then Friday, some more writing, rehearsals. Saturday, all-day rehearsals right up until the dress rehearsal, which is going to be from 8 to 10 approximately. And then the live show will be an hour and a half, because they'll scale out a half hour of stuff that didn't really work that well.
So
in
think
the dress
about it. The
rehearsal.
show is, just to cut you off there, so you're saying there are some skits that are not used in the show, because the dress rehearsal is 2 hours long, right?
Right.
So they cut out a half hour of skits, number one.
Yep.
Do they ever reuse those?
They will probably, what they did was they would actually take some of those and try to use them again down the road. Yeah, the answer
or
to your
make
question
them better
is
or something like that.
Yeah,
Improve it.
maybe tweak them a little bit and maybe use them in a future show.
But if you really think about it, then the show's written, and what you're saying here is basically the core of the show is written in basically Monday and Tuesday, a little bit Wednesday, and then of course they're tweaking down the line.
Yeah.
But it's kind of written in whatever, 2.5 days.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's an ongoing process, but a good chunk of it, Monday through Wednesday, they're really, pitch meeting Monday and a lot of writing and fine-tuning the rest of the week.
Now, as a person that's there every day, are you able to see some of these rehearsals and see what's happening in, upcoming or not?
Yeah, I mean, what's great is, you're in a building. We were on the mezzanine level, and what's great is you can go up into the elevators. On the third floor was Dateline, the Today Show, and NFL Live. You could go to the 6th floor and see, Letterman, and Channel 4 live at 5. On the 8th floor, you had Donahue and so forth. So you could just, you could walk around the building. It was a working network facility.
Yeah, but you had the ability to go on
Sure.
set and see what's happening.
Absolutely. One of the big, yeah.
I'm going to ask you, you've got, like Christopher Walken, I know, for example, as a guest host at Saturday Night Live, he uses these cue cards. You can see him reading them. How often are those used? Do you have any idea? Does that make any sense?
Well, they're obviously really depending on those cue cards quite a bit. Some people better than others. You can watch the show now and see how people are just glued to them or just better at, memorizing their scripts and so forth, depending on what kind of work week they had leading up to the show. But to go back to your original question about seeing what's going on in a given work week, one of the big perks, which was phenomenal, was going up and seeing the musical guest rehearse, which happened on Thursdays.
Right.
And that was phenomenal.
And we'll get back to that as soon as we take a little break here. Welcome to Everything Old is New again, discussing Saturday Night Live again. You didn't see this fellow live, but this was a lot of fun. King Tut. Come on back.
How you get so funky?
Now, Steve Martin wasn't there, of course, when you were there. Was he ever there as a guest host when you were there?
He did come back a couple of times when Alec Baldwin was on. You can recall those sketches where they had their jackets on,
right?
About welcoming them
club,
to the exclusive club. Those sketches that were there, yeah.
No, but they don't really hobnob. I mean, they're doing their job. They're writing the show and rehearsing this. I don't have time to go up and down the hallway, let's say, and say hello to people, right?
Right. I mean, you have tours that are going on through the hallways and stuff. People, they'll quickly walk by and do what they got to do, and depending on the mood and if the atmosphere is good, they may just poke their head in and say hi to a tour group once in a while. I mean,
does the atmosphere of working? Let's focus on Saturday Night Live just in general for now. Does the atmosphere of working for Saturday Night Live change based upon the guest host, or does the guest host have to acclimate themselves to the let's say the social environment of Saturday Night Live? Does that make sense?
It just it depends on how big the star is and what their what their attitude is like and how they really want to blend in with the group. And if you're going to accept going on the show as a host, I think you're going to, and what the show is about. You really, what you're in for. You have to have that kind of personality to really jive and do this kind of sketch material. So most of the time they would, to me anyway, as being an employee and walking around and observing and watching rehearsals and stuff, it just seemed like it would be, most of the time it was a good fit.
But think about, a lot of them are not doing live TV. The movie stars or, television people that have a couple of, times to make a couple of takes to do what they want to do. But, and Saturday Live, it's live. We know that. And so we'll be right back on Everything Old is New Again. It goes take an NBC tour with Chris Sulger on Everything Old is New Again.
How'd you get so funky?
You're listening to Everything Old is New Again, America's entertainment pop culture talk show with Douglas Viviani and David Cohen.
Since 1933, the NBC studios here at Rockefeller Center have been home to countless groundbreaking programs, from the Huntley Brinkley Report to Saturday Night Live.
We'd like to invite you to go on a behind-the-scenes tour of our New York operation. We'll take you through studios like Studio 3C, home of the nightly news,
Studio 6B, home of Late Night with Jimmy Fallon, and Studio 8H, home of Saturday Night Live, and have a chance to participate in your very own TV show.
The tour ends in the NBC Experience Store, where you can purchase NBC merchandise and grab a quick snack in the MSNBC.com digital cafe.
Hi, my name is Chris, and I'm going to be your tour guide today.
Excuse me, where are the bathrooms?
The bathrooms.
I told you to go before we. Come on, man.
Should we go now or wait?
Sir, you're going to need to use the bathrooms prior to taking the tour. You will not have access to a bathroom during the NBC tour.
Can you wait? Just let me.
Wait for this character.
Sir, right. Okay, if you could make it really quick, sir, I really would appreciate it.
Yeah. All right. You continue doing your spiel. I'll tell him. You don't have to wait for this character to come back.
Okay, so welcome to NBC. I'll be your tour guide. My name is Chris.
Dave, do me a favor. If you see the machine, is there like a water or something? Could you carry me?
Yeah.
All right.
As I was saying, there's just a few rules to obey before we go on the tour. Please, there's no eating, drinking, smoking, or...
Dave! Forget the water! All right. No water! All right. Okay, I'm sorry.
Or picture taking. Also, this is a working facility. We need you to please stay together as a group.
Dave, come on back! He wants us to come and stay together! All right,
but most of all, please enjoy yourselves and have a great time while you're here at NBC.
All right, so where do we go now? What's the story? What happens?
From here, we're going to, please, I need everybody to get into this elevator. If you would all just go right into the elevator for me, nice and easy. Great.
All right.
We're going to head up to the second floor. And we're going to check out WNBC Radio right now.
Radio? Who listens to radio anymore?
Radio's dead.
Well, I'm going back to the 1985 when I was a tour guide, guys. Sorry about that. And that was quite a long time ago.
I thought he was going to stay in character.
And we can look through the window right now at WNBC and see who is that? Either Don Imus or is that Howard Stern? I can't tell.
It's a long hair this guy's got.
Right.
Okay. All right. It's got to be Stern, I think.
From there, now you got me going. We're going to go up to the third floor. And
that's it? That's you look in a window and you move on?
Howard Stern, man. Can we watch Howard Stern for a few minutes?
I can't remember any of my original script from the WNBC radio days. I'm just trying to think.
All right, so where are we going next?
All right, so then we're going to go up to the third floor and we're going to check out NBC Nightly News with Tom Brokaw, the Today Show, which used to be on the third floor, and NFL Live, which was down the hall in a studio called 3K. And after talking about the Today Show, which I guess I'm trying to remember now, part of my script, it was the longest running morning daytime show. Longest running. Dave Garraway.
How about Saturday Night Live? We're going to see there?
We're going to be heading up to there shortly, sir.
Can we go now?
We're going to be going
I'm not interested in the news. No one watches the news anymore.
We have other studios to see. And now we're going to go up to from there we're going to go up to the sixth floor and we're going to check out the home of Late Night with David Letterman, Studio 6A.
Letterman's not Jim Fallon.
Yes, at the time, though, he was there before Conan took over.
We're time traveling?
But he's still not there, right? And Letterman's gone.
Okay, so the studio's there.
So the studio's there, Studio 6A, and right across the hall is where WNBC NBC Channel 4 is located. So we would pop in and check out that. And then we would head up to the 8th floor.
Do we get a chance to sit behind the news booth and kind of do
You could, yes. We did allow you to sit behind the anchor
Wait,
desk.
are we still on a tour, or are we just talking about a tour? I'm really confused, man.
The reason, I'm kind of segueing a little bit too because I'm having trouble remembering my original script.
And by the way,
we got a great tour guide this time, boy. I'm glad this guy came along with us.
Also, when do we get off the elevator?
Oh no, yeah. From my days, from remembering my days as a tour guide, the elevator was a little bit snug. We had about 18 people on a tour in these small elevators, and it got a little snug in there. But
and not one person pulled out like a gum wrapper or something and interrupted you, or if they did, what did they?
No,
do?
they were. Most of the time, I don't have any major stories of unruly guests. Thank God.
Right, so we made our way to Studio 6
now.
So, yeah.
Right.
So then from there, we would head up to the 8th floor and see the Studio 8G, which at the time was the home of Donahue, a very popular daytime talk show.
Was he a rapper or something?
No, Phil Donahue. Married to Marlo Thomas.
Actually did the Oprah show before Oprah did it. Let's put it that way. Right?
Was it called the Oprah show when he was doing it?
That's a fair assessment.
It's basically
it was called the Oprah show and Donahue was doing it? It's weird.
Well, okay.
Can we get off the elevator now? There's 18
we
people on this elevator.
From there, we would end up going up to Studio 8H, the home of Saturday Night Live.
That's a big hit.
All right, let's get off now.
We're finally getting off the elevator.
What do we see?
We're going to go up to the overlook area. We're going to look through these glass windows into the balcony area of Studio 8H. SNL, which started in 1975. To your right are some glass showcases. You will see the Gumby outfit that was worn by Eddie Murphy.
Oh, cool.
You will see the Killer Bees outfit worn by John Belushi and Dan Aykroyd. Yeah. And you see some other photographs of some earlier days of SNL. And you would, looking around, you'll look into the studio, you'll see the 250 approximately balcony seats. And
cool.
You'll also look down, you'll see some chairs down there that house probably about 50 audience members.
If we're doing the tour on, let's say, a Thursday then, or a Friday, are we actually doing the tour, or are there tours during this rehearsal period?
One of the great things about doing most of the time is if you are taking a tour in the afternoon on a Thursday, you would be able to see the musical guest rehearse. Now, were there times where they would pull the curtain to close the window? There were times when that happened, depending on how big the musical guest was or how comfortable they felt. But there were a lot of times, if you were taking a tour, you would hear the music, you'd look through the window and see them rehearse.
Were tours giving on Fridays when they did the rehearsal?
You will be seeing, yes, and that was another great thing. And that was really when the window was open a lot, too, was on a Friday. You would see them actually rehearsing as the sets were being built and fine-tuned, and seeing the show really come together. And also Saturday. You had rehearsals all day Saturday, and you'd be able to see the guest host and look through the window and see rehearsals and stuff.
So would you ever see any known person, I don't know if famous is the word, but famous person or someone that you is associated with the show, even like Lorne Michael, whoever,
sure,
as on the tour, just walking by the hallway or something?
Yeah, right next to the SNL overlook area, it would be Lorne would have his office, one of his offices next to the studio, overlooking the studio, and that you would see him walking by once in a while. Sometimes you'd see him eavesdrop a little bit to make sure the tour guides were getting their scripts right, describing what the work week was like and those kind of things. And
you mean the Saturday Night Live work week?
Yeah, the Saturday Night Live
which
work
was
week.
what was the spiel? You remember that?
Oh, Monday with the pitch meeting.
Oh, you did all that.
Yeah, we did that.
So Lorne Michaels would actually get involved in what you were talking about as a tour guide?
Well, he would really want to make sure that the show was being represented in the best favorable light. And I'm not going to say that every time, but you would see him sometimes quickly walking by and then sometimes slowly walking by, just to kind of see what the tour guides were saying.
Now, you're in charge of the pages later on, so did you ever hear feedback from anyone from his office saying, hey, listen, so-and-so didn't represent Gumby the right way? Or whatever,
there would be a couple of times where, maybe some newbies, some new tour guides would have to, maybe a couple of things here and there that needed to be tightened up a little bit. For the most part, though, no news was good news, and things were pretty good, especially as a supervisor.
After Saturday Night Live, where do we go next?
We then finish up the tour in a mini control studio, a studio that was built to show you how a television show is put together. Kind of like you had a switcher, you had an audio, you had two NBC tour guides that were sitting there doing some special effects, putting you on camera, and there was also a Tonight Show with Johnny Carson sketch where you would come through the curtain, swing pretend you were swinging a golf club, and then read a script sitting at a Johnny anchor desk with a couch.
So
and
would
somebody
you pick one person to be Carson and one person to be Ed
McMahon? Yep, absolutely. We would do that, and then also do a.
Did you film it too for these people?
Yeah,
somewhere?
You wouldn't be able to take one now. I think you can
take a video now. We did one with Conan.
I believe you. Yeah, I'm not sure what it is now. I've not been on the tour in quite a number of years, but I believe you can do that. But and then after that, you would actually do a chroma key weather demonstration where you would step in front of a green board and have a weather map superimposed behind you, and you would pretend you were at that time going back. Yeah. You were Willard Scott from the Today Show, and you were doing the actual
so
weather.
So like 3 or 4 people able from the 18 are able to participate in some way,
which was
like
great,
that.
and that was the end of the tour, and it was a really great part of the tour. People
and then
really
right to the gift shop, of course.
And then we would lead them right to the gift shop to pick up their NBC Peacock ceramic mugs and ashtrays and all kinds of fun stuff.
Cool. Welcome to Back to the Future. I love it. We'll be back when everything old is new again right after this.
Is this the end of the tour? Because I need a bathroom again.
It's a curious thing. Make a one man weep, make another man.
Hey, Charlie, why the arm in the sling?
Yeah, I walked straight into that busted street sign in front of Frank's Automat.
Well, you must have been really sore at him.
You said it, pal. I said, say, what's a big idea making a fella trip out there? I was going to sock him right in the kisser.
He's all wet. Why, you ought to sue him, Charlie.
I have half a mind to do just that. But where am I going to get that kind of dough?
Say, I know a fella just got me out of a big jam, and he didn't break the bank.
You don't say.
Yeah, the law office of Douglas Viviani.
The law office of Douglas Viviani?
That's right, the law office of Douglas Viviani.
Viviani.
That's what I said, Viviani.
He a straight shooter?
He's a cat's meow.
He's on the up and up?
Doug's ace is with me.
Is that so?
He's a bee's knees.
Well, that's just swell. You have his number?
You can call him at 631-681-1910 or email him at vivianilaw.com.
Wait, what was that last part?
What, email?
Yeah, what's email?
vivianilaw.com.
Now, back to America's entertainment pop culture talk show. Everything old is new again with Douglas Viviani and David Cohen.
But I'm not trying to make fun of world hunger. If you want to do something about world hunger, stop sending them food. Send them U-Hauls, boxes, some luggage. Send them a guy out there who goes, hey, we just drove 750 miles across the desert with your food, and it occurred to us that there wouldn't be world hunger if you people would live where the food is! You live in a desert!
There he is, Sam Kinison. Welcome back to Everything Old is New Again. Of course, the politically correct Sam Kinison. And we're bringing that up because we're spending some time with our friend Chris Sulger, who was at NBC for quite some time in the 80s and 90s, and ran across a few people, a couple of instances of brushes with fame, if you will. So we're going to try to dig down and see what these people, were like, or what your experiences were. Chris, welcome back to Everything Old is New Again.
Thank you.
And that was Sam Kinison, of course. I don't know if you ran into him.
Well, I did actually in the hallway once with a tour group, and I was doing a studio tour up by the Saturday Night Live overlook area, and we literally walked right into him with my tour group, and we're like, "Oh my God, hey guys, this is Sam Kinison." And sometimes you think, "Oh, they're going to run," or and he was very nice, very open, and "Hey guys, how you doing?" And so that was great, and it was a lot of fun. Was
he wearing the long overcoat that he got?
He did. Yes, he was. Yes, he was. I can remember that as clear as day.
Let me ask you an odd question. Has any of the pages ever told you and or yourself ran into someone that's vaguely familiar to them and is unable to place who the person is while they're with a tour? This is, and not be able to say who it is?
Yeah, I mean, that happened a couple of times. Yeah, absolutely.
A little insulting for that person.
Yeah,
right?
Oh, yeah.
Well, look, everybody, it's
somebody help me out.
That guy from the show.
You're doing a little John Lovitz there, it sounds like. Yeah, that's the ticket, right? Yeah.
Now, what about Michael J. Fox? I played a little Back to the Future before. I know he was on Letterman. And you had an experience with people, not just Saturday Night Live, but all these shows.
I had to go out and meet him in his limo to bring him in to be on Letterman once. And really, really nice guy. And my sister was a huge fan of his at the time when he was on, what was the program? program? That
Family
was on?
Ties.
Family Ties. And so I had a picture in my pocket that I took out real quick, and he autographed it. And yeah, so that was really cool.
So you take him out of the limo. You're going to escort him to Letterman.
Yeah, and it was just me and him in the elevator, and the freight elevator. We brought him up in the freight elevator because we didn't want to go through the main elevators where you have a lot of autograph hounds hanging out, stalking.
So we just had the one autograph hound, the one
it would be
stalker.
me, doing what I'm not supposed to be doing. But it's in the freight elevator. It's him and I, and boom, he signed it.
No problem.
And my sister still has that at her house. So
nice.
It was
Did she frame it?
Yeah. Yeah. So, it's
now,
framed and it's,
Talking about that, I know you had the same experience yourself in some ways, but maybe a different result with John Cougar Mellencamp, if anybody remembers him.
Yeah, this is a funny story. I was a page and I was working in the NBC store, which is right across from the main entrance to the NBC security. And I knew he was going to be on Letterman that week, and the album Rain on the Scarecrow had come out, and I loved the album. It was great. So when I heard he was going to be on, I'm like, all right, I'm going to bring my album in. I put it in a nice bag and I put it in one of the closets inside the NBC store and kept, I was working the register and I'm looking out at the floor and I'm waiting for him to come. Sure enough, he comes walking in and I just do everything against protocol and grab the album out, run right through security. And just as the elevator's about to close, I reach my hand in and stop it so it opens up. And there you have him just standing in there giving me a look like,
by himself,
what the F is going on here? With his bandmates.
Okay.
Just him and his band. And then me in an NBC blazer with the Scarecrow album in my hand. I'm like, I'm so sorry. Can you please? I'm a huge fan. This album is awesome. Could you? And I had a Sharpie on me. Doesn't say a word because he seemed kind of pissed, And that was it. I got off on the third floor and sent him up to the sixth, and that was it.
So you actually rode in the elevator. You weren't holding the elevator for him also.
No, we got in and the elevator closed, so it was just me as he's signing.
You got him as a captive audience.
Oh, well, yeah. Pretty much, it's me and the band and him just in the elevator. So I'll always remember that. So that was really funny.
Now, he knew where he was going, so you were able to get off early.
Yeah, I said, you guys are going to 6. I'm getting off here.
Were you wearing a name tag?
Yes, Chris S.
Oh, I would have taken that right off.
Yeah, right. No, but it was just, it was kind of shock and shock and awe, whatever you want to call it. And you were strictly told not to do that, and I just had to take advantage of the spot that I was in.
Now, have did you do that a lot, or is that kind of the only 2 experiences?
No, I mean, that was the one time that I really went against protocol.
Right.
There were times when we would be at cast parties after SNL, and I remember Chris Farley's first show.
Well, let's back up. After every show, which is, of course, live, at 1 o'clock the show is over.
Yeah.
What happens?
Well, there's always a cast party afterwards, usually at some trendy restaurant.
Okay.
It's somewhere in Manhattan. There's usually, everybody goes. And
how would you know where it is?
We would find out from the
rumor
from the crew where it was going to be. And most of the time, you'd have your guest host and the talent usually roped off in a certain section of the restaurant, and we would be up as the pages. We would be up at the bar and hanging out and talking. And but it was so cool to be able to go. I mean, it was such a great experience, and you would see some of the stars, and you'd approach once in a while. But I remember seeing Chris Farley at Tavern on the Green. I still remember as clear as day his first show, and I just said, "Hey, man, what a great job! You are fantastic. Oh, you really think so? Oh, yeah, thank you so much." And I still remember that. So it was a nice memory.
All right, nice. Now, also, I think you were, we talked about Phil Donahue, the precursor to Oprah. I'm sure he loves to hear that. You were on as a guest in a panel. I've seen this. How to spot a married man.
Yeah. We were, as a supervisor, we supplied pages to do the audience services for Donahue, and we would deal with one of their main producers. And she came running down to my office one day in the morning and said, "Look, we're doing the show last minute. We need single guys. Are you ready?" And I'm like, "Sure, okay." So we were all given a white glove to put over our hand where our wedding, if you had a wedding ring, it would cover the mark, so you wouldn't be able to give that away. So we had to wear a white glove, and 10 of us marched in front of the audience, and they had a spot if we were, to tell if we were a married man or not by looking if we had a wrinkled shirt or the way we were dressed, and that was a lot of fun,
especially unannounced.
Yeah, so I didn't know. You had an hour to get ready, and I just remember the lights being so hot, beating down, and Phil, I have a picture of him on my wall at home with his arm around me in the microphone. They did a freeze grab picture for me in the control room, and I got it signed by Phil, and it's on my wall at home.
Did they guess right whether you were married?
They said married because I iron my shirt every day. I came to work dressed in a suit and tie, and they thought I was married, and I was not married at the time. I was 22 years old, 23 or whatever it was.
Nice job.
And it was fun. It was a lot of fun.
Now you don't have a tape of that show. I mean, there was no ability to do that.
You know what? I once in a while I will go on YouTube and I'll try to Google clips like Donahue, and I haven't been able to find it. I do have an old copy of the tape somewhere at home that I have to go to a dubbing place and see if I can get it on DVD or something.
You were asked questions and all that, or were you just standing there as like a stick figure? I mean, what was the
I'm trying to remember now. You were asked.
Couple of questions.
A couple of questions, and do you cook, and certain things like that.
Now you talked about audiences. Now you had to fill audiences for like new shows, like Conan and Rosie at the time were brand new shows. Yeah. What do you? I mean, you have to have an audience. What do you do?
Yeah. It was a little nerve wracking when you have brand new shows like Rosie and Conan, who took over for Letterman, and who are these guys? Who's Rosie? Who's Conan? Literally pulling people off the streets. Thank God we were in a great building, 30 Rock, right next to Radio City Music Hall, right where the Christmas tree was. You had TKTS Broadway just a block over. So I would send pages out on the street pulling in tourists to fill up these audiences. And you had to do it every day until the show, as you know, took off like hits. Conan took off, and certainly Rosie did. Right. But you really had to get them, you really had to do it early on. It was a challenge.
Wow. This is great. We're going to continue with more discussion of behind the scenes of Saturday Night Live when we return to talk about the music side of Saturday Night Live. On Everything Old is New Again. Here's your buddy, Rain on the Scarecrow, John Cougar. Please forgive me. There we are. So we have a couple more minutes for our podcast and our LI News Radio group.
Can you sign my autograph, Mr. Mellencamp? Sorry to hold the elevator.
I don't know. No one's ever, and I don't think ever will, ask for my autograph, but I can't see it being such a problem. But what do you think, Dave? I mean, I don't know.
Well, he was probably surprised that you were an employee asking.
Yeah, not only an employee, but I mean, you're getting ready to go on a show, and we all get that way. When you're on an elevator and you want to go, and the elevator's pretty much closed, and somebody opens it, you do get a little bit ticked off. You know what I mean? I don't care if you're Mellencamp or wherever you are.
What about the bandmates? Like, the bandmates never got asked for an autograph. You should have asked a couple of those guys. Hey, guys, pass this around. Like, that would have changed the attitude a little bit, Like, that drummer on these bands never
I just
been
remember
asked.
part of the story. Actually, the marker that I had for him did not work, and I now remember it was one of his band members that pulled a pen out of his pocket and gave it to me to autograph. I just remember that.
That was nice.
Yeah. So that was very nice.
Well, did he give the band member a look? I mean,
right.
Oh, gee, thanks, Sal.
Right. Sal. He was a tall guy with, I think he was bald. I don't know if he was a bass player or whatever. I still remember.
Sal DiDomenico. I'm sure it is.
Funny stuff.
Who else?
But I'm appreciating the time you're spending on talking about Everything Old is New Again. And if anybody wants to go back, you talked about going to YouTube, want to go back and listen to our old podcasts of our shows. This is our 99th show. We've got them all on the podcast on everythingoldisnewagain.biz. That's everythingoldisnewagain.biz. If you want to communicate with us, send us a note from the website or oldnewagain at AOL.com. That's oldnewagain at AOL.com. We'll be right back to talk about the rehearsals and music guests of Saturday Night Live on Everything Old is New Again. Chris Sulger and David Chung.
Take away man's dignity. You can't work his fields and cows. Blood on the scarecrow.
This is Everything Old is New Again, America's entertainment pop culture talk show with Douglas Viviani and David Cohen.
Hi, Bruce Springsteen's going to be on Saturday Night Live this week with me, Tom Hanks. Splash, big, movie star. Hello?
Hello? Anybody there? Hello? This is Everything Old is New Again. Hello? That was Tom Hanks, of course, and that was a legit intro that he presented back in the 90s when he hosted Saturday Night Live. And that kind of introduces us a little bit to the musical side of Saturday Night Live, which through the history of Saturday Night Live has been a mainstay and has been something that has been strong. You've had good things happen with, the Blues Brothers and Rolling Stones, remember, were on many times. And there's been, innumerable memorable. Almost everybody, McCartney, everybody in music has been there. You've had Sinead O'Connor ripping up the Pope's picture as a musical guest, and honestly, what happened to her career after that? I don't know if Saturday Night Live was. That was a result of Saturday Night Live, but that was at its heyday, and it was, at its height, maybe it's a better way to say it, and she got some pretty poor publicity as a result of that.
You had the Madonna Fight the Real Enemy. You had that show as well when she was on. When she did I think it was an anti-Pope message when she was on, and I think those were during the 90s as well. So
I mean, as opposed to now, it's one thing to talk about a smidge is, Saturday Night Live now, I don't know if it carries the cachet now. We're sort of in a transition period. These people that are on now might become huge stars. We don't know. But it's not, I don't know, back in the day, it was even back in the 90s, 80s, 70s, was talked about like water cooler kind of show, wasn't it? Like skits were on and people would imitate them and talk about them all the time.
Absolutely.
And now kind of not so much.
Yeah.
But I don't know. We'll see.
I think the show is really great. I think one of the biggest criticisms of SNL over the years that they still do, sketches are funny, but they're too long.
Right.
I think if you ask a lot of people, some of them are really funny, but they were just not as long.
And the last hour of the show also, the last half hour of the show is sort of like, they're squeezing out skits that are not always the greatest.
Right. I tape the show every week. I watch the show every week, and I have for forever. So I still enjoy it, and good old DVR, I can watch it back whenever I want.
Exactly.
But,
now, you remember there were times you mentioned that you would take a lunch.
Yeah,
I think on a Thursday, right? Tell us about what you would do.
One of the biggest perks of being an NBC employee was, working on the mezzanine and hopping on an elevator during lunchtime and going up to the 9th floor and just sitting up in the balcony and watching musical guests rehearse. Everybody from Billy Joel, Counting Crows, a number of different bands, Paul McCartney, Bruce Springsteen, Pearl Jam, all these bands. You kind of tiptoe in. You don't want to really announce it. You just want to sit in the back, sit down in a chair, and it was just good. And when it was over, you got back on the elevator and you go back to your office, and that was it. So it's clearly one of the biggest perks of being an employee.
And you're permitted to do that, of course.
Yeah, you don't want to advertise it. And if there were a lot of people up there, it could get there were a couple of warnings issued here and there, and you would try to sneak in here and there, but everybody knew about it. And
here's
it was
one
so
I think
fun.
you may have heard. Nirvana, 1992, these actual rehearsal, right? Listen to this.
Yeah, but absolutely. Nirvana was very big at the time. Pearl Jam was getting they were also on in 92.
Yeah.
I think they did a live in a song called Porch, which were huge hits that, these were early on in their careers. But I think SNL is really good about their musical guests, and they're choosing people that are on the cover of Rolling Stone, very recent, that are right in the beginning, and they're really gelling with the demographics of the audience. They're really good at that.
I know you had an experience, a somewhat funny experience, at least the outside looking in now, with Billy Joel, and here's a little piece of him on Saturday Night Live in 1993. Let's keep this going, Mike, while Chris tells us the story.
Yeah, just interesting, funny story. Billy Joel was the musical guest. I had a guest come to the show that night who was late arriving, and we ended up sitting him down in the aisle in pitch blackness, and he ends up sitting next to Christy Brinkley, who was married to Billy Joel at the time.
What a coup for him. And he's a huge fan. I know this fella. He was a catcher on our softball team. We all played softball together.
He was a buddy of mine, and normally I would not have people come to the live show. If I had a couple of friends come, I'd always want to have them go to the dress rehearsal, because it's a longer show. You can get out at 10 o'clock, build a night around it, and then go home and watch the live show and see what they did, what they didn't do.
I've done it a couple times, a kick to see what they didn't
matter of fact, I remember having, you had come to a couple
I went to the one with
shows.
Patrick Stewart, of course, Star Trek
Okay,
fan.
shocker.
There you go. They did a Love Boat. I remember distinctly they did a Love Boat.
You remember who the musical guest was? No?
Wow, who was it that night? I don't know.
Google it. We'll have to Google it.
Okay.
Probably in the 90s. Going back to the story real quick. So Christy Brinkley starts feeling a little bit uncomfortable because our friend Mackie is asking her all these different questions. She ends up motioning to Billy Joel on the studio floor that she's nervous, and kind of signals to him like, "Hey, can you get security up here?"
Before the show starts.
Yes.
So this has got to be at like 11:15 or something.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. So we're kind of dealing with that
and
factor
he's peppering
as well.
her with questions. Mackie is an alias.
Now, I'm not really aware of what's going on. I'm up there supervising the audience and making sure everybody's in their seats. The show's going on shortly, and all of a sudden I see security bringing this guy out, and it's dark. So all of a sudden, as I start seeing this guy's face, I'm like, oh my God, this is one of my guests. I am going to either get fired, if this gets out, I felt horrible about it. And they escorted him out, and that was it. And he missed the show. And I don't think he did anything threatening to her. I think he just... oh my God, I'm sitting next to Christy Brinkley.
Chewing her ear off, I guess.
Yeah, maybe he's talking about, what was the movie? Vacation? Who knows what he's talking about.
I wonder if there's some symbol. I don't know famous people. I'm just thinking about this now.
The panic signal.
Yeah. She had she crosses her fingers or
she just put make a trigger with her, pointing it to her head.
Well, we would do that every Saturday when we play softball with this guy.
Oh, yeah.
Did you get in trouble for that?
Yeah, no, I didn't get in trouble with it because I quickly kind of walked away and turned my back and walked away so he wouldn't say, "Hey, Chris, they're throwing me out." That was my biggest worry. So
I have to tell you, I remember the story because the next day, actually, we played on Sunday. We played softball.
Oh yeah, you know what? You're right.
And this story went around the softball.
Was he mad? I mean, was he upset at what happened, or did he understand?
Again, he had a few cocktails in him, and he was feeling no pain. But that was it. There's really nothing I can do. And later on, I tiptoed out and spoke with him and said, "Look, buddy, sorry, you can watch it on this monitor." That's pretty much what happened. So. But that was the one story that...
Now, what about live performances you were mentioning to us off the air before about Paul McCartney? In the 90s, I think you may say, when he performed on the show live.
Out of all the musical guests love performing in Studio 8H because of the acoustics. The sound in that studio is unbelievable. I mean, it really is. There's a lot of history in the studio from Arturo Toscanini and the NBC Symphony Orchestra back in the 1930s, and people just love performing there. But McCartney, when he did Hey Jude... during the live show, when you didn't hear a pin drop, having this Beatle perform, it was like a mausoleum. It was incredible. I think out of all the musical performances I've seen in my time, that was just... unbelievable.
And why? Like silence in awe, silence just, that it was terrible, or what?
Just
Give us an
awe,
idea.
Legend, a Beatle, the sound, just mesmerizing.
And did he profess some kind of I've seen people in the past, once in a while you see somebody that has this charisma, this aura that goes off of the person and can reach out to whoever's watching them to make a speech or sing or perform. I'm assuming that's kind of the thing.
He really just, he's sitting at his piano in the middle of this world famous studio, this world famous show. He's world famous. I mean, it was just that moment. I think everybody was just.
And even with the audience, there's only 300 people listening to Paul McCartney. Almost give
I think he did Let It Be, and he did Hey. I mean, this was incredible. I mean, to be part of that was probably my number one memory from SNL. That as far as music goes,
right? That's great. We miss anything, Dave? You thinking of anything in mind at this point, or no?
No. Were there any other musical guests that you remember? Like, was Elvis Costello too early for you?
No, that may have been a little bit too early.
Before.
But I just remember, the biggies like Springsteen again and Pearl Jam and Seal and all your
and you had private concerts during lunch, basically.
Pretty much, yeah.
Are there
Honestly,
any
every
disputes
Thursday
between bandmates, or do they not want to do this rehearsal, or is it just any disputes between bandmates, or when they're doing this rehearsal, or they don't like the sound or the engineering?
When they rehearse, obviously they're doing their rehearsal for not only the sound check but also for camera blocking to see what these guys do, how they jump around on stage, whether it be. I'm trying to think if YouTube came on when I was there.
But their gyrations are planned out.
Sure,
through the song.
Like Bono likes to, walk into the audience and those kind of things.
But he does it at a certain time in the song, so that the camera, so they're practicing that.
So they have to know all these angles. It's all the camera blocking,
right? But it looks like it's just spontaneous.
It's not.
Right.
Yeah. You have to do that, and the cameras have to know what's coming in order. It's a live show.
I mean, it's a job for them. Think about it. It's so interesting. All right. Well, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate you spending the hour with us.
It's been an absolute pleasure, guys. Thanks for having me back.
Sure. We'll have you back another time, though. Rogues Gallery.
I hope so.
Everything old is here. And we've got that 1 minute left for a little bit of a recap of what we've gone through here and now. And I don't know, Chris, is there anything that you wanted to add that you just kind of were thinking about before you came in we didn't touch upon? Or, how did we do here?
I just, it was just such a great experience of working in that building. You felt so special walking in through NBC security every day as a young kid in 1985 and just working with these people and seeing the autograph hounds hanging out. You just felt like like a VIP going to work every day.
Well, you were on the inside. You were
just
doing
being
something
in this place and having and with all these great my fellow tour guides and getting a chance to work in such a building, singing out in front of the Rockefeller Center Christmas tree every year. That was and that you can find on YouTube, by the way.
Yeah,
you
I've
can
seen
see
that.
me. You can see me singing in front of the NBC next to people like Chuck Scarborough and Sue Simmons and Michelle Marsh. You can find me on YouTube.
You've made it then.
Yeah. I'll just drop a few names.
Sounds good.